But it is necessary to note that today is Palm Sunday, for centuries celebrated with the waving of palm branches in recreation of the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem a week before his death on the cross. Actually, Luke's Gospel, which we'll hear this morning, does not mention the palms, nor does it use the cry Hosanna. You'll hear today in the Gospel that people spread their cloaks on the ground, sort of as though Jesus is riding into Jerusalem on a red carpet. Cloaks. Think about cloaks. Long before the life of Jesus, an Old Testament prophet had written, "Rejoice, rejoice, people of Zion. Shout for joy, you people of Jerusalem. Look, your king is coming to you. He comes triumphant and victorious, but humble and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." And the arrival of Jesus in Luke's Gospel is staged accordingly. Sometimes today is called Passion Sunday, because churches will read the crucifixion story to make the Good Friday happenings the focus of the week ahead. I want to say just a couple of things about this passage in Luke that we will hear. First of all, what is a cloak? Anybody? What's a cloak? A coat, yes. So Kathy's doing this sort of wrapping around thing that she does when she goes to the opera. She wears an opera cloak. And it's an outer garment, isn't it? It's a protective layer. And so when we hear the word cloak, we might think, what's the protective layer that we might take off and lay before Jesus? Luke's account deals with vulnerability. Just a few lines after the reading we'll hear today in the Gospel, it says that Jesus gazes out over Jerusalem, and what does he do? He weeps. He weeps over Jerusalem. And so today, friends, maybe we're bringing our vulnerability, we're bringing some hurts that we hold into this service. You'll notice in the Gospel that Jesus must be greeted appropriately. The Pharisees are a bit annoyed, and they want the disciples to be shushed up. Well, Jesus is very interesting on this. He says, if they weren't welcoming, the very stones would cry out. The most inanimate things we can think of would call out. Jesus is such a force that a response is inevitable. Jesus is destined for impact, it's inescapable, and the truth will out. And later, when Jesus is alone, what's going to happen? A stone will be rolled away, and it will let the truth out. We know how the story goes. And again, I say, Jesus brings his vulnerability and invites ours. Today, on Palm Sunday, in the world we know, consider these words. These words are from Shane Claiborne. Peacemaking doesn't mean passivity. It is the act of interrupting injustice without mirroring injustice. The act of disarming evil without destroying the evildoer. The act of finding a third way that is neither fight nor flight, but the careful, arduous pursuit of reconciliation and justice. It is about a revolution of love that is big enough to set both the oppressed and the oppressors free. So note the disruption in the story when you hear the Gospel. Jesus riding into his destiny. If you like, he's the leader of a popular protest. And right at that time, on the other side of the city, the imperial army would have been marching in for its annual display of military might. It did this at Passover time, kind of to show that the Romans were in charge. So you've got these two processions, the military army and then this leader, this strange leader, riding on a donkey, humble, capable of tears, about to embrace the ultimate act of defiance and victory that will cost her his earthly life. And it's into this revolution of love that is big enough to set both the oppressed and the oppressors free that we are all invited And so let us mentally lay down our cloaks to make way for the Jesus who leads us back into the great story of the reconciled self. And it's time for the call to worship as we move into that exercise. Thank you, Rich.
In the company of Spirit, in the name of love, in the light of Christ we gather. We begin this journey of the Holy Week, trusting we are not alone.
We are
not alone.
We live in God's world. We believe in God, who has created and is creating, who has come in Jesus, the Word made flesh, to reconcile and make new, who works in us and others by the Spirit. We trust in God. We are called to be the church, to celebrate God's presence, to live with respect in creation, to love and serve others, to seek justice and resist evil, to proclaim Jesus, crucified and risen, our judge and our hope, in life, in death, in life beyond death. God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God.